Good morning, Noble. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Constance Jones, and I have the honor and privilege of serving you as the CEO of Noble. A special thank you to Sean Clam and Myron Ford from Butler College Prep who made that incredible video. As you saw in the video, and no doubt have felt in your own life, 2020 has been a year like none other. I wish so much that I were looking out at our big, beautiful, diverse staff and community filling the seats of the Roosevelt Auditorium Theater as we've done in years past. I've missed walking through the hallways with you as we get ready to serve Chicago students and families for our 22nd year. Given the tremendous change and challenges we have experienced this year, many have given up on 2020. But I'm here to tell you today that different does not need to mean worse. And with our students in mind, it simply can't. Every single day, every single month, every single year that we have of our students matters. So 2020 is not canceled. However, change can shake us from routines that may have held down our creativity and open us up to new possibilities. More than ever, our students need our support and for their identities to be affirmed. They see those same newsreels that we watched in our introduction. They must hear us say that their lives matter, that Black lives matter in our classrooms. In the midst of all this change that we're seeing throughout our city and our country, maybe you feel, as I do right now, that we are creating history as we live it. 2020 is not just another year. In a generation or two, textbooks will recall our moment and what we did do or what we did not do. And we must be on the right side of history. I have to imagine some days it felt the same for the late Congressman John Lewis. I want you to picture him in 1960 as a young man, only 20 years old, before Selma and the Edmund Pettus Bridge, before the March on Washington, out of the public eye and without cameras, a college student, simply preparing to board a Greyhound bus home to Troy, Georgia for the Christmas holiday. John Lewis and his college roommate, Bernard Lafayette, boarded the bus and sat down in the front row behind the driver who angrily told them to move to the back. They refused. The bus, it bumped along the dark highways below the Mason-Dixon line, and at each stop, the driver continued to threaten John and Bernard for daring to sit in the front of his bus. There were no cameras. This was before the Freedom Rides or national attention, but they made a decision to act because you simply cannot be neutral on a moving bus. It was good trouble, necessary trouble, the kind that agitates for a purpose, for justice. I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. These are words from John Lewis in an op-ed he wrote shortly before he died, and that was published on the day of his funeral. We know this work is deeply personal, the highest calling of your heart. I have to share with you a bit of where my highest calling comes from. A few weeks ago, on August 13th, we were on a Zoom call with our Noble board. We were participating in the Overcoming Racism training run by Matthew Kincaid that many of you have already completed. During that training, he shows a montage video of just some of the news clippings of violence towards the Black community and other communities of color. The stories of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks, Elijah McClain, Sandra Bland, put front and center before we moved into a small group discussion. As Zoom moved us into our breakout rooms, my microphone still muted, I cried. I cried despite having seen that video before doing the same anti-racism training with our TREACE team earlier this year in February. I cried because I remembered that that day was also my nephew Justin's 23rd birthday. My parents adopted him when he was a baby, and he is a little brother to me. He drives an old Toyota Camry at 5:30 in the morning to a job he loves as a barista at Starbucks. And as I sat with my camera on in front of my teammates, I cried. Because to me, this birthday was such a big one for him, given everything happening in the world right now. Such a milestone. Each passing year represents making it. And in my heart, I'm just so deeply grateful. I cried because I know all too well that each early morning as he hustles to get to work on time, maybe even driving a little too fast after pressing the snooze button a few extra times, he could be pulled over because he presumably is up to no good at that time in the morning. I cried because this birthday shouldn't be a big one, but it felt like it. Justin, the same age as Eliza McClain, was turning 23. I cried because there are other people who wake up those same mornings, get in their cars, and roll through his Starbucks to-go window, ordering a morning coffee, who don't have to feel so afraid, whose family members don't wait, worry, and pray like my mom does every single day when he leaves home for work. There are two different experiences barely coexisting side by side in these mornings. One human race, two very different experiences. It's unacceptable and it should not be tolerated. The highest calling of my heart is to ensure that there are not two experiences, that there are not two set of rules, that there are not two Chicagos. We often hear that Chicago is the tale of two cities, but I don't think it has to be that way. I wake up each and every day thinking, how can I dismantle that gap in experience? How can I create a more equitable world that affirms the beauty, the dignity, and the identity and the lives of every student, every family member, every community member we touch? In this world, our children will be able to accomplish their wildest dreams, whatever those dreams might be. This is the highest calling of my heart. And so what will we do during this calling, in this moment at Noble? How do we translate our collective calling into action this school year? Dr. Kendi has argued that there is no such thing as not racist. There is no neutrality or comforting safe middle ground. We either work toward policies and outcomes that are racist, or we actively work against them for more equity and justice. We at Noble choose the latter. In this historic moment, who will make the decision to get into good trouble, necessary trouble? By good and necessary trouble, I mean an intense and personal introspection, a reckoning and reconciliation, an examination of the systems we navigate and perpetuate. I know this may be uncomfortable at times. Good trouble at Noble, the kind of trouble that lives our core values in their truest form, the trouble that fosters real humility and real awareness, that provides the introspection for looking at ourselves and making the changes necessary. The trouble that doesn't just get results, but achieves equitable results. The trouble that respects our students, alumni, and families by leveraging their voice to build the schools they are proud of. We want trouble that creates diverse spaces and works to make those spaces inclusive for all. Personal introspection, probing questions, examination. There can and will be discomfort in this, and that discomfort is necessary. As part of our program today, as we march toward this reality of a better Noble, an anti-racist Noble, it is important that we model what that introspection looks like. And so we will begin with a first panel discussion with a collection of Noble staff who have committed their careers to Noble, and at the same time are moving through their own personal journeys of anti-racism. This is a journey we must all commit to together. I appreciate so much their vulnerability and willingness to speak from their heart and their experiences, because it is how we will move forward to accomplish our vision that all students at Noble will have equitable and positive experiences that prepare them to succeed on the path of their choice, leading to 75% graduating from college.